thank you very much for your time, and we're looking forward to having you at the festival. Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself, what area of history you focus on, and what drew you to it?
Yeah, so my name's Will Iredale. I write books about conflict and about people in conflict. And my two books so far that I've written have been about the Second World War. And it's a period of time which has always fascinated me. I'd argue it's kind of, the biggest event in human history, certainly in sort of recent times. And it's thrown up so many thousands of fascinating stories. And often of ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances. And in a sense, that's sort of what's always drawn me to it. I very much am attracted to the human stories as much as kind of, the technology or the military stuff. I mean, it's very much about, I just think conflict can kind of provide a really good way of telling some amazing stories. And as witnesses to that sort of momentous event dwindle, and the links almost, it's almost severed forever. I kind of feel that it's important now to, as much as it's ever been, to try to tell these stories whilst that generation still have some people still here with us.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one of the books that you've written is what you'll be talking about at the festival, the Pathfinders.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about this incredible story and what inspired you to write about it?
Sure. So the Pathfinders, I think a lot of your people watching this will probably realise that by kind of 1991, Bomber Command, was in a pretty poor state. It couldn't find or bomb targets over Nazi-occupied Europe, and Winston Churchill was appalled, and he ordered an inquiry. He wanted to know what was going on, and the results were nothing short of dynamite. They analysed 650 photographs taken on board aircraft over what they thought the targets were at night, and they found that just 1 in 5 of those aircraft sent on operations got within 5 miles of the target, and on moonless nights just 1 in 15. And so something had to be done pretty damn quickly. So the result was the Pathfinders, and as you said, it's a secret air force of 20,000 young men and women, which transformed Bomber Command. Frankly, it was on the brink of extinction in 1942. It was at risk of being broken up. And in a short time, it was a force capable of razing cities to the ground in a night or two, or targeting targets just a few hundred feet wide. And that was, I guess, thanks to skill and training. It was thanks to some really, really clever technology, and it was thanks to some superb aircraft as well. And that's kind of really, I felt that Pathfinders and their story hadn't really been kind of told properly, or rather certainly hadn't been told from the angles I wanted to, which was very much through the kind of people who were there. And in terms of what triggered it, it was really quite random. So I came across a recording online, and you can still access it now, of a nightingale singing in 1942 in Surrey, in some woods in Oxted in Surrey. And this was something that had been happening every year. A very well-known cellist called Beatrice Harrison, from 1923 onwards, she would play her cello in the garden of her home in Surrey, and she was surrounded by these woods, and the nightingales would sing along. And every year the BBC would record this, and it became almost like an annual event where they record it live. And on that particular day in May in 1942, the nightingale was singing away, and they started recording, but she hadn't yet started playing her cello. And then suddenly you just hear a lone aircraft engine in the distance. And then within about 3 or 4 minutes, your ears are just throbbing with the sound of hundreds of aircraft engines. And this was a massive raid that was on its way to Mannheim in Germany. And the kind of juxtaposition between the nightingale singing and the bombers is just, it gives you sort of goosebumps. Well, anyway, I kind of thought, well, I wonder where they were going. I wonder where that raid was. And I did some research and I found out it was on its way to Mannheim, and it was a complete disaster that night. Very few of the aircraft reached their targets, and it deemed quite a failure. And I kind of thought, well, hang on a minute, because command, certainly in later years, it's tremendous sort of raids and what they were capable of doing. And I kind of thought, well, I wonder what turned them around. And the result was the Pathfinders.
Wow, it's an incredible story, and like you say, that juxtaposition being the trigger is so fascinating. And you're not a stranger to the Chalke Valley History Festival. You last spoke here in 2017. What did you like about the festival? Were there any standout moments?
Yeah, look, it was great. I spoke in 2017. I was fortunate enough to share the stage with two Second World War aviators, Colin Bell, who's a Pathfinder Mosquito pilot, who many people watching this will be familiar with. He's still alive and well and with us, age 101. And my dear old friend Keith Quilter, who sadly died last year, age 99. Keith was a Corsair fighter pilot. He got shot down off the coast of Japan in 1945 and rescued by an American submarine. And I was there on the stage, and we were there for an hour and just in front of a packed tent, and it was just the most wonderful experience. And I think it summed up for me what Chalke Valley is about, I guess, which is, from the moment you arrive in the sort of gorgeous surroundings in the middle of the Wiltshire countryside, you just sort of feel the warmth. I know it sounds a bit corny, but you do, and it's packed full of enthusiastic speakers. It's packed full of members of the public who again just want to learn and hear and kind of enjoy kind of just learning more about history. And you sort of leave glowing because of the kind of collective enthusiasm. And for me, the time I spent there, really, it was wonderful. And I kind of feel there's nothing else like that really out there.
Yeah, no, it is brilliant. Why do you think events like these are so important for teaching history and engaging the public with history?
Yeah, well, they bring it to life, don't they? I mean, I write books about history, and I'm not going to be rude about them, but at the same time, there is nothing like kind of surrounding yourself with it, and I think that we do in the UK. We are lucky enough to have such a rich history here, and the idea of being able to go to one place where you can immerse yourself in kind of history back through different ages, not just about the Second World War, which is what I write about, but all sorts of other stuff as well. And you've got the living history, you've got historical performances, you've got kind of, we're lucky enough to hear from stories of those who were there, and it's certainly in terms of the Second World War. And it just gives it colour, it gives it interest. And I guess at the end of the day also, it's just great fun, isn't it? And I think that's the other thing, we shouldn't forget that. I mean, there's so much serious stuff that one has to write about and horrible moments in history. But I think the way James Holland and his team, what they've managed to do is they've managed to make a lot of it fun, interesting, and you feel like you want to have a good time. I think it's really important.
Yeah, no, it is. You're absolutely correct. Is there one thing in particular that you're most looking forward to this year?
A beer after my talk with Paul Beaver. But no, I think just soaking up the atmosphere. When you kind of go down and you suddenly see all those tents and if the weather's good, it's just lovely. It's like nothing else. And I think just soaking up the atmosphere, having a walk around, seeing what else people are doing, maybe clambering on the odd bit of the odd tank or something, and just enjoying it and having a bit of fun.
No, that is awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time. We look forward to seeing you at the festival, and we cannot wait to hear your fascinating talk. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Thanks very much.